Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for coming in today. I know it's Thursday and it's early and everybody was out partying last night, but thank you for coming to our JAG Over the Top section. My name is Jeff Belinfanti. I'm the External Relations Chairman of JAG, which stands for the Jersey Access Group, and we're a trade organization. We're a 501c3 trade organization that represents all the public, educational, and government channels, as well as independent producers and nonprofits who have a message they want to get out to the state of New Jersey. So we are about as hyper-local as local can get. And I want to thank you all for coming out today. Joined here with two distinguished station managers from stations in our group. All right, we have George Fairfield from Piscataway, and Bob Duthaler, who was the station manager at Bloomfield, WBM, what is it?
BMA TV.
BMA. But he's also the president of JAG and my boss. So, and he's going to be carrying the ball here for our slide presentation. Just in case you've been living under a rock for the last 2 years, the way we consume media as citizens and people has changed. There's been a sea change in the way we communicate with each other, and that has resulted in a sea change in the way that we as municipal channels communicate with our citizens. If you haven't used Zoom, then you're in the minority at this point along the way. So we'll talk a little bit about some of the changes that have happened in the last 2 years because of the pandemic. And we'll also address some of the changes that are ongoing and have been going on for several years in the way television is consumed in your home. How many people have Netflix? How about Hulu? Disney Plus? That's a sea change in the way we consume media. And that affects how we consume local media, as well as Netflix and how we watch The Crown and Bridgerton and other things. So we'll get into that a little bit and tell you some ways that you can get your message out to some of the cord cutters that may be living in your town. So with that, let me turn it over to Bob, who will talk to you about post-pandemic tools that you can use to reach your citizens.
All right, George is going to join me here. We're just going to kind of make this a little free-flowing here. We'll just go a few things for you guys. You guys can hear me all right, right? That's who we are. And so let's just talk about basically original government video operations, what that used to entail years ago. You know, they originally started out with like a stagnant bulletin board, just a slide that was some clip art and some crazy stuff with some information, still pictures, PowerPoint. Some people are using PowerPoint for presentations. And then it consisted of long form videos. And what were long form videos then? They were meetings basically and township events. So that's how everybody kind of typically always viewed your access channel there. But then the pandemic and viewing habits kind of changed the way we consume video. So we have social media, mobile, everybody's watching video and stuff on your phone as well. The internet, OTT, we talked about that briefly. OTT stands for over the top, and that's Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, any of those devices And we live in a video on demand type of world, meaning that people want to see video when they want to see it, not necessarily live all the time, or it's whenever they have a chance to pop it on, they want to be able to watch it. So if you have a council meeting that's on at 8 o'clock on Tuesday, they may not be able to tune in. They want to be able to go to somewhere where they can consume it and watch it, maybe in 20-minute segments and a little bit here and there, and get the whole thing. So we'll go through all that. So the pandemic also forced some changes for municipalities. So in what ways? Well, public meetings still needed to take place, right? So we all got that phone call somewhere mid-March of 2020. Hey, don't bother coming into the office. We're closing down. So a lot of people, it was okay. You know, you worked from home. So what about the information people who had to figure out ways to get things out to the public still? we still had to come up with ways to live broadcast and stream meetings. So that was one of the challenges. Public participation. How did the public participate in these Zoom meetings? Did you risk giving them a Zoom access and getting Zoom bombed? Did anybody ever get Zoom bombed in there? Yeah, right. That's happened. Yeah. Or, other ways were with phones, taking phone calls and having a separate phone line and kind of mixing those in with Zoom as well. So,
did others do the phone method, basically doing phone conferences with their council and residents?
Yeah. Okay. Then hybrid meetings started happening. Okay. So then it was, okay, we got half of us are in here. We're all spread out, but I got Charlie, Mike, and Jan and whatnot. They don't want to come in. And how do we do that? So that was the next thing to start to tackle. And then social media played a role in the sense that, ways to get these out besides broadcast was we started streaming live on Facebook and on YouTube. So these are different things. All right, so I'm going to just give you a little, you've seen these all before, but just in case you've missed them, let's get a little flashback. There it is, the tile. Pay attention to the guy in the upper left-hand corner. Little handsome guy right there.
Adding a couple comments of my own. Just want to thank Bob and Jean-Guy for
I chose this clip because this was
we
us
wouldn't be
getting
able
a
to do this
proclamation.
virtual meeting without their support.
TV station
So,
and IT department
just wanted to
received a
give recognition
proclamation
where
from the
recognition
township
is due.
this past August. This was
So
from
whereas
for doing all the
WBMA
things that we
TV
did to keep them on the air.
Bob
So it was a
Dukauer
good chance
and
for
Bloomfield
Michelle.
IT Director Jean-Guy Latour and their operations have gone above
So that's
and
it.
beyond
So we've
expectations
seen that.
by
We
implementing
lived
a
through that.
state-of-the-art system.
Will we live through that again this winter? Who knows? That could be a realistic possibility. Now, a hybrid
Hey, Congressman
meeting.
Payne, how are you?
So here we are back in the
Fine, thank
township
you.
council chambers.
So good to
So-
be
Now
with
we're
you.
spread out.
It's good. to have you
Everybody's
here. So
masked.
the one good thing about
Got some audience
the
in there too.
pandemic
You can
is
see
we've
that. We
learned
have a
from
limited
technology,
audience
and we
space.
can now have our congressman at our
But
council
if you look in the
meetings
upper
without being there. So
corners there, we got
welcome,
two large
Congressman
monitors.
Payne. We appreciate you being here
And
tonight.
on the back side, there's two other monitors. So
Thank you
two
very
face the
much.
council,
And,
two face the audience.
The
And in
trick
this
with
instance, we're bringing
new
Congressman Payne
technology
in.
is
He's coming in
when I show
via
up dressed up
Zoom
in full
that
regalia,
we've set up
suit and
that we
tie,
can bring it to the
everybody's in
meeting. And this is our broadcast feed too. So this
show
is,
up in a golf
we're
shirt,
seeing a little
everybody's
wide shot right now here,
right.
establishing the congressman. He can see them in there. I'm going to show you little bits, but now we can take the congressman full screen. He can talk about what he wants to get his message out.
In addition, it expands.
Is this
child
also
tax, earn
simulcast
income
cable
tax
and
credits,
on a
keep
social
millions-
media
Yeah, so
network?
so we're live
And
on
out
our
of
channels. We have Comcast
Bloomfield
and
person
Verizon.
learning.
We stream on our township
plan
website, our
includes
website as
130
well, and we go
do that
live on
nationwide.
Facebook.
And the money
So we
will
take it to
reduce
all
class
those different
sizes
things.
and modify
So
space.
there's a sample going back and forth
In-person
a little
instruction.
there.
It
Then the
supplies
next
the
challenge
equipment
that's coming up next
for students and
goes
staff.
is how did we
It
do
improves
a
the
hybrid?
health
Yeah,
and
sure. good.
safety of schools to protect students and staff.
Yes, we have a cable channel. Yes.
COVID-19.
Yep. No, that's fine.
Personally, I'm very proud.
So the next sample that should be coming up is now a hybrid meeting again, but we do these remotely. So we're not in the council chambers. This is Board of Education meeting. This takes place in the high school's media center. Again, the same thing. They're spread out. You can see they have about 8 board members there. That center round table right there is where they take phone calls. So they took in phone calls during the public sessions. The business administrator in the upper right-hand top, she would also take emails. So they would say, hey, okay, public portion's coming up. Email her, so she would read the emails, then they would go to the phone calls. They did the public session twice. They also streamed on Facebook, and they would put the number, say, okay, public comments coming up now. The key thing to all of these, and what we've always stressed is, people write comments on Facebook or ask questions. None of those questions will be answered on social media. Okay, and it's probably a good practice for most of you to adhere to that. It could get lost. Things can go crazy back and forth. just put it out, put a phone number, put an email, say you have a question, direct it here, and that's the best way. Some places turn off comments, so that's up to you guys as well.
Yeah, I was going to say Piscataway has it turned off. Our public information officer has all comments turned off for the public to see. Of course, people can still write it. He sees it, but they ask for direct phone calls into the mayor's office.
Okay, so that's a little bit sample of where we're at.
Is that board members that are at home up on the screen
Correct.
as well?
Yes, so that's board members as well, yep. So that is still the current situation for the Board of Ed as well for them. Council in Bloomfield is back full. Audience is limited, people come, but still people communicate and send it. Another town that I'm involved with is Scotch Plains. Scotch Plains always was in a good position even prior to this. We always went live with our meetings prior to this anyway. We always took phone calls. So I know some of you may be scared thinking about that, but for over...
Not so much scared, but how do you screen them to make sure that nobody's going to go wrong with the F-bomb?
You don't. And I'll be honest with you, I've done it in Scotch Plains for over 12 years. It hasn't happened. The worst thing that's ever happened was the mayor mistakenly asked somebody what the score update was for the Met game, what was happening, and we got a lot of phone calls telling him updates, and then he had to kind of cut it out back then. But that was honestly the worst. Yes?
You guys have to create a position. The person actually created a Zoom control position, and that reduced all the issues heavily.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
That's my just focusing on every time we have a council meeting, the Zoom session, hybrid, whatever it is, we have that one person in office all the time controlling Zoom sessions.
Yeah.
So for I know for Bloomfield, the Zoom and the whole coordination falls under really two people. The IT department, he oversees the whole Zoom situation and getting it. There is a Zoom manager that schedules the meeting and make sure there's no conflicts too, because I guess, they don't want to pay for 50 different Zoom accounts and whatnot. So there's a scheduling issue always that comes up as well. So
Yeah, in Piscataway, it's actually the clerk at the court, or not court, the township clerk or the deputy clerk is managing the Zoom as well as the meeting.
Same.
Without a proctor, without a professional proctor, like without a professional proctor, like for the state, like our board secretary, but she hires a professional meeting proctor.
No.
And then to your point, in Parsippany, it's incumbent upon the IT department to kind of be the gatekeeper.
yeah, so
Okay.
yep. All right, so we'll move on here. So these are from 2019. The statistics have relatively changed, stayed the same. These are the latest actually for some, but so internet video traffic, now we're talking video, makes up 69% of all global consumer internet traffic. 55% of people pay close attention when consuming video more than any other types of content. 51% of all video plays are on mobile devices. So there's a large number right there. So they're not watching it on the large screen there. And we know it's definitely the younger generation that's is responsible for those numbers. 78% of people watch online videos every week, and 55% view online videos every day. I'm going to say these numbers are pre-pandemic. We know those numbers are a lot higher coming out of that. Social media video generates 1,200% more shares than text and image content. Okay, so we're strictly saying on social media, if you post a video, you're more likely to get likes and shares than you are a particular picture. So here's some specifically for Facebook. 100 million hours of video are watched every day on Facebook. So what does that say? People need to get a life. 500 million people watch Facebook videos every day. Yikes. Where are they doing it? Well, in their office. We all know that too. I do it too, but it's for work. 85% of Facebook videos watch with the sound off. What? There's an interesting number. So the sound is off. So if you go through your scrolls, right? That button is always off. So that's an interesting thing. So Facebook generates 8 billion video views on the average per day. 8 billion. So what does that tell you? We're going to go so viewers also retain 95% of a message when they watch it in video compared to 10% when they read it. And how do we know that? Because how many of you still know the jingles of commercials from the 70s and 60s and whatnot, right? Those you remember, but you probably don't remember any print ads or anything like that. So, and videos on the average retain 37% of viewers all the way to the end. Okay, so that's you look at that and say only 37. That's a pretty high number. You know, most videos when it comes to Facebook or any of those, and if you have an account or if you watch the analytics, the first number you get is how many watched it for 3 seconds. That's your first number, and it's always your highest number. And that's typically part of the scroll. So when you're scrolling through your Facebook feed and a video comes up, you may slow up on it for a second, and then you may blow past it, but that counts as a 3-second watch. And then there's different views along. So there's good ways and bad ways to skew that. You know, if you're the department running that video, you're going to take that higher number and say, hey, we had 1,200 hits. Now, maybe 800 of them were the 3-second views, and they slowly dwindle off. But you got to take the numbers where you can. So what is the new government video operation? Well, now we're looking to have dynamic bulletin board messages, long form videos, that's still what we do. Short form, now we're creating more short form for social media. So now we're creating these little 2 to 3 minute videos that are intent just to go out to social media, maybe not necessarily broadcast on the television channel. They can be used in different ways for that as well. Department videos. So most of us who run these access stations, we also make department videos for different ones for the health department, we're part in sensitivity and sexual harassment training videos, fire safety, all different things that any department may want to communicate to their members. We help create videos for them as well. And then live videos. So the one thing I always tell you about the pandemic, it was the years, because it's still going on, of the live. I mean, I'll use Bloomfield as an example. I showed you some of these things. You know, prior to the pandemic, it was no chance in you know what that we'll ever go live with a council meeting. No, we'll never do that. Well, March came, March 15th. March 16th was, hey, how do we go live? So obviously it was already in my head, and I knew plans, and we had plans, and I'll discuss these later on with you guys, some things we did, but that was a real issue, and it became, you know. So dynamic bulletin board messages, what did they include? They include a time and date stamp on there, weather and traffic information, a news ticker, and quality message slides, not that clip art and things like that. So, and also they include short videos. So now some of these little short videos, 30-second PSAs, especially, you know, when the whole COVID crisis was going down, we were getting PSAs from the CDC and from the governor and all different things that we can include in our airings as well. So, and that would give information up to date. So I'm going to give you a little sample here. So here's a sample of someone's new bulletin board. Now you got some graphics in there. You got a little music. You got a little time date stamp going on. And then the informational side of what they have coming up.
hassle. Broadcast more
So
with
here's another
Telview's
one that
cloud-based
uses a
management
ticker,
and collaboration
a news
tools.
ticker. So
Host the Telview
you got
technology yourself.
information,
or
you got the
broadcast
time
from
date
our cloud.
stamp, you got a weather
With
on
over
the
25
side.
years of experience. And the know-how
This
to
just happens to be a
simplify,
promotional
customize,
video for
and
the
streamline
vendor,
the
but
broadcast channel process.
so it gives you a little
Share your vision.
bit. So these are broken out into quadrants.
And call
do
or
that.
email Telview for a free.
All right, so what about long form videos, right? That's still what we call the bread and butter of what we do. So that is the covering of meetings. That is the covering of township events, parades, Veterans Day ceremonies, Memorial Day, sports, and things like that.
Any dedication
Right, yep.
that's being done.
So these are all used to communicate with the citizens and open government. So I know, so obviously when people say, open government, that's getting the meetings out and keep people informed. But what I tell anybody who runs a station or even, information, this is a marketing tool. This is what you guys do. We're really marketers of the town. We're trying to show the meetings. Yes, we got the public, keeping everybody happy and showing all that. But all the other content is you marketing the municipality and showing it in the way, they want to be displayed. So that all falls into your hands. So, and then, we have residents that take part in meetings, events, and sports and more on a convenient schedule. So short form video that we talked about, made strictly for social media, gets the messages out quickly. So sometimes when we cover a large event, it may take a few days to create a finished product, but we can take some quick clips, get a 2-minute video out really fast and post it on social media. And you can even tag it with, hey, watch the full event coming next week, or, and you can show schedules and times. But it gives the people, quick hits as well. Sometimes we'll even do Facebook Live when we're at an event and just tease it. Say, hey, we're here. You still have time to come down. If not, tune into the channel and watch it down the road. Like I just said, it serves as promos for the long version. It engages viewers in a wider viewership. So now you're getting everybody who maybe is not on cable, but you're getting the cord cutters. You're getting social media people as well. And like mentioned, it allows people to immediately see as posted and view on their own schedule. So when they go through their feed, hopefully they're following you and you can get that. So here is just a little video of a townwide track event. So this is an event that really, it's for middle school. It's pretty hard to cover. You couldn't really make this a long form video. It's just too much going on, two different main stations.
Welcome to.
But you put a piece together like this that's a couple minutes long, and you share it out on social media. You run it into the bulletin boards. That engages people and gets through.
Student athletes.
In the beginning, nice music, nice little clips. So at least the beginning was enticing to maybe that you'll unclick it and listen further. So it didn't start off with a talking head. So if I would have started off with a talking head of, hi, I'm Mike Sherman, the recreation, you may have lost people right there. But you're showing some video clips, you got that sun glare and the things like that may draw people
There are
in.
5 events that make up the townwide track meet. We have the 400-meter run. We have the standing long jump, the softball throw, the shuttle run, the 50-yard dash, and then we culminate with the relay.
Certainly the goal for the producer is to stop them from scrolling.
Plenty of people in
Just
the stands. There's probably
pause.
1,000 people here tonight
And then
cheering on our young
hope
student
to
athletes, and they're just
grab them and hold them
representation
longer.
of all that's good with youth sports and all that's great with Bloomfield. The townwide track meet started well over 4 decades ago with Mr. Robert L. Carter, who was the recreation director at the time. He was a big track and field star at Seton Hall. And he was actually trained by the.
Notice also
soon
that when we have the talking head, it's good to see him, but we don't need to see him all the time. So we want to cover him up when possible with different things that he talks about in events going on down the line.
Get all of our elementary school student athletes, 4th, 5th, and 6th grade boys and girls, active and involved in track and field. And
I think you get the gist here, right?
A tradition here in Bloomfield again for well.
Here's another little sample. This is a quick little 30-second PSA City of Newark.
The city of Newark is beautiful. From our award-winning structures to our parks to our catch basins. Pick a regular recurring day and time to clear debris from your catch basin. It's that simple.
So that's it. Just a simple message of, hey, you know, what can you do to help keep the city clean? So this Bloomfield Buzz TV is two forms. This is a long form show, and then there's also the short form.
Hello, Bloomfield.
So this particular clip was promoting the
tell you about
2018 Summer of Fun series, which included concerts, civic band, car shows, and things like that.
I want to congratulate the Bloomfield High School class of 2018. Go Bengals. We wish you luck in all your future endeavors. This summer, we have free civic band concerts on the town green Monday evenings.
So all these events, besides this being a promo for the upcoming series, we cover all these events. So we cover the civic band concerts and stuff like that. We do multi-camera shoots, 3 to 4 cameras. We roll out with a crew and cover.
And summer concerts by popular bands Tuesdays in Brookside Park for your whole family to enjoy.
People like me always go set ways. Time to tell the day by the bottle that you drink. It's not your own.
We've even planned a professional laser light show set to the music of Pink Floyd. We'll be celebrating our National Night Out with community events and a police vs. fire softball game. And we'll have plenty of outdoor movie screenings and street fairs.
So these are all events that we cover annually.
Car shows,
so we have the footage to make clips like this going down the road to, you know, highlight the next series.
Restaurant Week.
Things like
There's
that.
something for everyone to love about Bloomfield
All right, so I
Summer
think
of
you
Fun.
get the gist of this one.
Stay involved by.
So what else is going on? So live video has now become key. We just mentioned, right? Getting meetings, everything live. It allows people to watch more. It can be watched both live and on demand. It's more likely to be shared. Department videos, we talked about. Interdepartment training, employee sensitivity, and messages to citizens. So those, like the DPW is a message for the department, but it's to the citizens on things like that. So there's First Lady and Mayor Menezia of Bloomfield. And this was about first responders getting vaccinated.
Great. Got about 12,000, almost 13,000 total amongst all of us.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. Good job to date.
So how was it?
Not bad at all.
Nothing. That's great.
So the reason I'm showing this clip is this is an example of, so we shoot a lot of things like this and we go out, but this one particular we did not shoot. So this was pool footage from the governor's state sponsored this one and had a reporter. We participate in getting shared pool footage. So we took all the raw footage, we edited it and created our own video for that, and gave the person also credit as well who shot it. So there's other ways to, you know, get out that. So here's the other one: Apple TV, Roku, and Amazon Fire. So those are the cord cutters, right? We've all heard that term before, cord cutting. So you may have decided you're no longer subscribing to cable to watch television where the municipal channels are found. So how do you reach them? Well, a lot of us stream our station live on our websites. We have, if you go to, and I'll give you WBMATV.com as an example, we stream live on it, and we also have a media center where you can watch anything on demand, from any of the meetings that we cover to township events and whatnot. But also, if you have Apple TV, Roku, or Amazon Fire, go search us, search WBMA TV Bloomfield, and feel free to add our channel. So we have our own channel on those systems, just like anybody else who would, and you can have your HBO Max, and you can have that, and you can have WBMA TV as well. And you can watch it live. We have 2 channels that stream, or you can, just like Netflix, you could choose to watch a show and do it that way. Yes?
How do you get a channel on?
So how do you get a channel? You have to create an app. So we work with some companies that create the app for us. In fact, it was built into the same company that we do our live streaming with. That's a service they provided. So they created the app. Our same live streaming and video on demand. It's the same integration. It just translates now into that. The next thing we're currently operating or working on is we're making an iOS app and a Android app. So then you can now also watch right here on your phone. So you can get the app so you can watch on your tablets and phones as well.
Who's the company you use?
We use a company called Telview. They are out of Mount Laurel. Yes?
What's all this paid for?
How's this paid for? Good question. So you should be aware that your municipality receives franchise fees from the cable companies. They receive them on an annual basis. Those franchise fees are based on subscription of the amount of people who subscribe to the cable in your community. And the cable companies collect those franchise fees and yearly pay them the 3rd week in January to the municipality. Those funds were designed to help municipalities get a station and to use it to run. Also, another thing you should keep in mind is, if your municipality isn't doing that, there are 2 types of franchise agreements currently in the state of New Jersey. There is a local franchise agreement where you engage with the cable company, whether it be Comcast, Optimum, and you have a conversation with them and say, hey, on January 2023, our franchise agreement expires. Here's what we want. If you don't have a television station, you're entitled to one. So these are things that you start to negotiate in your franchise. You say, we want you to give us a channel. They'll run all the fiber and anything necessary to make it happen in your station. Depending on the size of your municipality and what takes place, you can also get grant funding. Last time Bloomfield did our franchise renegotiation with Comcast, we got a $119,000 grant. So that allowed us to, we're actually building a truck right now, and that
Who gave you the grant?
Comcast. It's something that we negotiated as part of our franchise. They're not going to give it to you just because, they're going to, when you sit down, they're going to say, hey, we like your town, we're going to give you $60,000. This is something you have to ask for. You have to, it's part of the cable franchising process. It's something that if you become a member of JAG, we'll help explain, our organization, our members, this is stuff we do. But it just doesn't happen. It's a 3-year process out. So when you have to backtrack. So whenever your franchise agreement expires, the process starts 3 years prior to that. It starts with an ascertainment phase where you have to sit and say, okay, what was the performance of our cable company over this current franchise? Did it meet the needs of our citizens? What were the complaints like? Do we have a television channel? No? Okay, maybe this is something we want. So let's negotiate for that. So there's different things. Other things that we took advantage of and negotiated was not just the grant money, but additional funding that they gave us is our municipal building and where our station's at, we're in the Civic Center, are, about a quarter mile apart. So we had them run fiber from the municipal building to a Civic Center as one thing. And then also that track and field where you saw Foley Field, that's another half mile down the road, the main stadium. Well, we also had fiber run from there back to our station as well. So now when you saw that council meeting where I showed you where everybody was in there, we sit and do that meeting in our control room at our studios. We don't even have to be on site, and just do that right from there. We have PTZ cameras that are all controlled right by us. All the audio, video comes over IP. These are something that we just integrated and set up. So there's different things. So that money that we were just talking about has to come from somewhere. It comes from the cable franchise fees. So you get your municipality to say, how much do they take in? Well, I know Bloomfield takes in probably close to $500,000 in franchise fees. So we get maybe a little over $150,000 per year for that, something around that. So it's something to take place. On the other hand,
these add-ons that you're talking about, aren't they taking it out of your franchise fee?
No, they're not.
They're all extra?
They're all part of franchise negotiations. So besides the grant money, those have a cost value. So they estimate those were like $30,000 for the one and $45,000 for that. That's part of what we negotiated. So that's funding that came to us.
I've seen them take it back out they add it back on to subscribers somehow.
Well, the only thing that...
It's not free money from them.
So no, it's not free money. Well, the grant money is, and the other costs are. Depends on how you negotiate these things. Franchise fees, though, are determined by the FCC and the BPU in the state of New Jersey, actually. The BPU determines the franchise rate fees, which is 2.5% of basic cable for Comcast or anybody, unless there's competition. If someone like Verizon then is in town, then it jumps up to 3.5% of gross cable, and 3.25% goes to a municipality, 0.25% goes to the state. So that's how that affects that. On the state system-wide franchise, so if you have, basically Verizon is pretty much the only one really doing it, except for Altice Optimum did it in communities where there's a heavy Verizon presence, and they didn't want to do negotiations anymore. They chose to hop on the system-wide franchise. Each municipality is entitled to 2 channels on that. You're allowed free cable drops, free internet service, free training, access to equipment and training for if your municipality starts a station, you don't have it. You're allowed to, they have stations or places set up where you can get trained. You can, like a library, you can borrow cameras, borrow editing systems, and do things like that as well.
And you can negotiate for like multiple with the cable drops in Piscataway. All the firehouses get a cable drop, the libraries, all of our administrative buildings.
Senior centers.
Right, senior centers. All basically free cable run into there. And usually you get a box for free as well.
But you got to ask for it.
Right.
That's the, you got to negotiate for it.
What is it like? So what's the takeaway from the companies? I assume that they feel that the more cable drops that they provide you, the more likely they are to woo future customers. Is that the justification for that, on their side?
Well, on the part of the, one is legislative; they have no choice.
No, but right, but
on the system.
Beyond the franchise, all these perks that you negotiate. So what's the business model from their point of view? Is it a matter of just...
Well, they want to keep the subscribers. They don't want you cutting the cord, right? They want you tuning into cable. They want you to pay for the not only cable, they want you to obviously buy Showtime and HBO and anything add on and do video on demand with them, because that's all into their pocket.
So I guess when you're at the negotiating table, everything you just said is what the municipality should be basically telling these companies as you're negotiating for the additional.
Right. Correct. Yep.
That's one of the things that we at JAG do. We advise townships when they have these negotiations as to what to ask for. You don't know what you don't know. So all of a sudden, if we're around, we can tell you, hey, why don't you ask for this? Now, in fairness, Bob is in Bloomfield. That's a big town. How many people in your town?
Just about 50 now.
All right. So I live in
1,000,
West
sorry.
Milford, which is tiny compared to him. We don't get nearly as much money, but we do get a grant from Altice that helps us run our station. Small grant, and the town gets franchise fee money, for which we're trying to get a little bit bigger piece of to help finance our station. Now, we're all volunteer, as opposed to Bob, who has paid employees. Different thing, same problem. We have to communicate with our citizens, all right? And we face all the same problems. Cord cutters, senior citizens who aren't computer friendly. We need to reach everybody. So we have the cable channel to reach the senior citizens. Those people who are involved in reaching senior citizens back there. And we're also investigating going into the Roku box so that we can get our cord cutters, the young marrieds and the young people who live in town, whom we have to reach with the same important information. It's an interesting problem and an interesting time we live in because of the change in the way people consume media. I'll shut up.
I'm sorry, do you feel that they're more inclined to acquiesce now as opposed to when you did this, let's just say this time 10, 15 years ago, because they're afraid of the cord cutters? So do municipalities have more leverage today's day and age than they did this time 15 years ago?
Well, I think the way they're going to look at it, bottom line, is how many subscribers do they have? So did you gain subscribers in your municipality or did they lose them? What's the competition like? You know, are they up against Verizon? Are they not up against Verizon? So, they're a company that's going to look at numbers. And that's a number that they probably see. So if you initially had 3,800 subscribers and now you're down to 2,500 subscribers, well, their income coming in is not as great either. So
is that proprietary information, or can municipalities?
That is proprietary information. They do not share that information. Yes.
Yeah, I'm just saying that they would pony up more stuff to the municipalities in hopes of.
Well, I think right. Yes.
In their favor.
Yep, and there's different ways. I know we've worked in the past that we've gotten funding that maybe that they give a couple $1,000s a year to the recreation department for the summer concert series. Well, that gets their name blasted on there as well. And Comcast sponsored this, and we'll talk about it when we talk about grants and building out. We're in the middle of building out a video truck. We'll mention that this was funded by a grant received from Comcast. So there's all, they want goodwill in your community as well, right? I mean, they're a business. They've heard it. Listen, we've all slammed every cable company. My connection's horrible. We lost connection. The internet's horrible. They'll take good press when they can take good press. So, anybody else? Yes.
I was wondering, does every municipality get those franchise fees, and do they have to be spent in a specific way?
So yes, every municipality gets those franchise fees if there's a cable operator in your municipality, which there is. So that's law. Those go to general funds. So it makes it a little trickier, but that's and that happens in the state of New Jersey. Across other states and areas, those funds collected through franchise fees typically go right to the station.
Well, we don't have a station.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, Crystal.
Well, and then that's
Can of worms.
yeah.
You're going to general funds.
Get that money. Your job, your assignment, should you choose to use it, is to get that money.
franchise fees come directly from the cable providers, or does it come from a different source?
So yeah, the cable providers give you those funds annually. Where does the money they come from that they collect? Well, it's if you look at your cable bill, there's a line that says cable franchise fees. That's usually $1.25, $1.50 per month. All right. So in theory, they come from you and me. All right. So when the cable company says, "Hey, but we give you $250,000 in franchise fees," I like to say, Actually, you don't give us that money. You collect that money on an annual basis. You've made now interest off of that. You've actually made money off the franchise fees. Those are our citizens that are doing that. So,
And I was wondering
Yeah.
if it comes directly from the cable company. So if you're looking for how much that gets or how much is coming in from the general fund, would that be under something else, or would it?
no, it comes directly from the cable companies. That, like I said, the third week in January, they will make that payment. So it will come from Comcast. It will come from Verizon or Altice, Optimum, whatever you have. Yes.
Is it public information how much that is?
Yes, everything in government can be Oprah'd.
You have to open it?
That's up to.
If there was a,
I mean, I just.
I don't know how much we got.
So from my point of view, I would just go to my clerk or my financial officer and say, hey, how much did we get in franchise fees last year? And they would share that information with me.
I would say it depends on the town. Like Piscataway, they want it all in writing, so it is an official Oprah request, but it's provided because it is public information.
Yes.
I don't, maybe you don't know about this, but I guess the governor has signed the New Jersey Civic Information Consortium bill, and there's supposed to be some $1 million distributed to entities that would work with governments, libraries, and colleges to work together. Does that have any impact on what we could see in terms of money for this kind of project?
I don't know the full extent of that yet, to be honest with you. It'll have to be reviewed. There was another fund that came that may have more impact with us, is that when the government sold their transmission licensing fees on PBS channels, NJN and stuff like that, they sold those. And then those funds went into a consortium.
That's what this is.
Yeah, that's.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Is that so? So you could file for grants and stuff like that. They're small grants that go through. I guess you can go through Montclair State University and stuff like that.
Well, there are 5. All of the state. There are a bunch of state universities that are funders. They're the ones who the money flows through. I mean, we applied. So I can tell you a little bit about this after the meeting because we applied for it. But it's a grant situation, and you have to have something you're trying to finance, and you have to have a reason for it. So it's like applying for any grant.
So they have specific parameters. So it would have to be more. It wouldn't be for. I don't think you can get it for operational or equipment value. It would have to be for programming, or it actually for payroll too. It could cover the cost of people too. So there is, yeah.
Well, I know there was also, I don't know if it's basically been used by all towns, but we, I guess 3 months ago, the towns got money because of COVID expense, and because everything was going virtual, we were able to upgrade and use some of those funds as well. So I don't know if your town has those funds still anymore, but it's still to keep the residents informed. If your administration building isn't open, there could be funds there as well.
Several different stations I'm involved with, we also got funding through the COVID funding that allowed us to get whatever equipment we needed to go live, like to cover that board of education. We got a little unit that's called LiveView that uses bonded cellular technology. So it has 6 cellular modems in there. It sends that up to the cloud, which comes down to a server in our place, and it takes that. So it has, if you lose, quality of one, you don't see it. So everything is sent that way. So it allows us to go on location at different places. So should we have to do an emergency announcement from somewhere, from either town hall or, from a site, we can take one of those units and do that as well. We've also used those now during the pandemic times to cover a Memorial Day parade. That wasn't really a parade at this point because it was maybe just some couple speeches and a walkthrough to the monument, but they wanted to keep the public away because they didn't want people gathering. So we did it for that. We did it for Veterans Day. We did it for 9/11. We went live with 9/11. So all these things that also allowed us to go live. So we had our live version that was a single camera shot that covered the whole event, and then typically we had multiple cameras, so we would make our other version that cut that would be more the broadcast version and the on demand later with that. Anybody else?
Right there.
Yes.
A lot of stuff we want to do on social or on our website, the attorneys get involved and say, we need a photo waiver from every person pictured. We can't, or basically they've come to the conclusion that we can't put anyone's faces that are recognizable on anything. So how do you get around that in your different municipalities?
So if you're covering a public event or any event, you do not need a waiver.
You tell you, it's easy for the lawyers to say no. All right? they train them in law school. All right? It's law 101. Learn how to say no. All right? Trouble is, push the envelope. You're at a public event. Shoot it. Don't worry about it. All right?
If social too, even if you put it on social.
Yeah. Yep.
It's a public event.
That what stops you with your cell phone, right? Shooting it and getting me and stuff like that. I can't sue you because I'm at the same event. No, it's the right of media news is what it ultimately.
The other thing that I have done.
Sporting events as well, like you showed the middle school track meet and.
Correct.
On social, people freak out.
Yep.
I think kids generally sign a waiver though in school.
Yes, all schools, right.
Waiver for all of our high schools and elementary schools and middle schools that parents have to sign that say if they're in a public space, kids may be filmed.
Yeah, but they don't have to consent to that.
Yeah.
They don't have to consent to that. There is an option for parents to not consent.
Yeah.
So how do you cherry pick the kids or no?
Then that student would have to, if they were at an event, would have to stay away from the situation.
I work for the commissioner president in Essex County, and I manage the social media. I also studied broadcast journalism and media production. So when it comes to kids, if you want to broadcast them and they are in a public event, usually yes, like the gentleman said, the school or the organization has a waiver already from the parents, because I've run into that issue as well. But if you are at a private event, then usually you have to get something signed. But for public events, then it's automatic.
Yeah, but they would, so let me cover, okay, so in the beginning of every school year, okay, there are parents that sign and you can decline not to have your kids photographed.
Right.
In cases like track and field, there should be an increased awareness or whatever from the track and field coach to get that additional waiver for a particular event before anything is filmed, because you can't, a coach cannot figure out through the Board of Ed or the administration which parent has opted out of having their kid video telegraphed. If they opt out, they opt out.
So there's one other thing you can do that's done in television for years upon years is any event you could post a sign that says this sporting event or this event is being televised. You consent to being on television when you enter this room or you enter this field.
Yeah, right.
So you could right.
Have to do that before the track.
Right, or you as the production, you can just go on site and have that sign posted, and then that'd be the end of it.
Yeah, I used to work with the education of Piscataway before moving to the township station, and again, public event is a public event. They're usually signing the consent form for anything being done inside of the school. Therefore, that's the private event. But a track meet at a field where the public is able to come, it's a public event. Parents can absolutely, and we'll do it. If a parent comes up and says, I don't want my son, daughter on it, we're like, no problem. Okay. Our public information officer will, we laugh about it, but he'll go, anybody have any problems? Okay, great. And if somebody does, we'll address it then. But for the most part, everybody that I've seen will freak out when you first show up with a camera. And then when you explain if you have to, everybody's like, oh, okay, great. When's it going to be on TV? And everybody's great. Once they know what the person with the camera that's pointing it at their child is really doing, I've never had a problem beyond that.
In 30 years of doing it, I had one teacher once say I had a student that can't be on camera, and they segregated student, and that, put them in the back of the room and just inform me that they were. Other than that,
Yeah, we had a lot of that in Piscataway.
there's never ever been an issue.
Yeah.
The only other thing I found that sometimes if you're maybe at a public event, maybe it's a downtown Harvest Fest or Street Fest, if you want to talk to kids and the parents are there, typically sometimes we will ask the parents and ask them on camera, do you consent to us talking to your children? Oh yeah, and like yeah, I want to be. He wants and it's or no, we prefer not to. Then we move on. That's simple. But we'll do that. And plus, we always ask their name because we want to know the spelling of their name. If we interview them, maybe we'll put a lower third on as well. So that's another way to cover yourself as well.
One other thing is I did have an adult once who shot something and they were really, really unhappy with it, and they came up to us afterwards and said, I really don't want that on television. And we said, absolutely. I'm not here. I'm not here to be antagonistic. We are here to help and to reach out to the public. And if that's going to upset you, we don't really want to do that. So we don't mind something like that. And once again, that's
Probably
one.
should let them know it's Lee with Bridge Television.
Well, I tried. Yes.
I worked with the Girl Scouts and some other special events, and what Girl Scouts would do, we had either custody battles or models who didn't want to be not paid for their stuff, so they would put a wristband on. So if you have any concerns like that, you can put a wristband on the child, and then anything, obviously photography, not live, or you can cut out edit later, but you can remove that scene with that child later.
Okay.
So yeah, the custody thing was the more important. Yeah, sure.
I think the key here is to disclose.
Yeah.
Disclose at the beginning of a shoot if you're in a small room. Hey, we're shooting today. If there's anybody who doesn't, and roll the camera. What Bob had suggested. If you're in a public situation, you want to interview a kid, roll the camera and ask the parents on camera for permission. So you have it just in case. All right, that's a key.
So the Girl Scouts made me think. So what are the other things that we do? We do a lot of stuff with the community. So we'll get the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts that come into the studios, or maybe they're doing an Eagle Scout project or something like that. We've covered things like that with them. It's the little things, it's the ribbon cutting ceremonies as well, and the different events that take place during the town. These are the goodwill stuff that I was talking about. This is the marketing tool of your municipality that you want to get out. So these are all part of it. Obviously, most of us work, pretty close with our IT departments. Video is going the way of IP. There's a lot of IP video now. Most IT people don't even understand IP video, so that's a whole nother realm. So it's good to have a relation, so you can explain it to them, and then they get understanding, and then there's stuff that they say, okay, now I know what I have to do with the network. I know a lot of IT people think that video is going to clog up their network, and it doesn't actually. There's new things called NDI and Dante Audio that are all specifically designed, and they don't slow up a network at all, in fact. So, anybody else? Yes.
Question for the gentleman from West Milford.
Oh, yes.
Small town. You said you use volunteers.
Yes.
So when it comes to events where you want to have it recorded, whether it be your public meetings or ribbon cutting or something, are you kind of scrambling to find somebody who's going to come? Do they have equipment of their own? Do they use town equipment?
The answer is we do have town equipment. We actually own 3 cameras, so we can do concerts and things. And there are 4 or 5 of us who are involved with the television commission in town, and we shoot. And I spell him, he spells me. Yes, it's a challenge because I can't just tell somebody to go and shoot something. I have to ask them nicely. But we managed to get everything covered that we need to get covered for the most part.
So the equipment, was that purchased through one of these grants, maybe American Rescue Fund or whatever?
Yeah, exactly. Well, the equipment actually was purchased through that money that we get yearly from Optimum as part of a grant to the station. And that's separate from the cable franchise money that goes to general funds. We have two sources. Now, the grant from Altice is small. It's $5,000 a year, $4,800 a year. But the township gets about $100,000 a year in their cable franchise fee. And like I said, it's a bit of a challenge for us as a volunteer station to get our township to free up some of that $100,000 that they get to help us buy a few more things. But over the course of the year, and we're a relatively new station, we've only been in existence about 6 years. But over the course of those 6 years, we've proven to the mayor and others on the council the value of a television station, all right, and the value of the ability to market the town to the residents with the television station. So all of a sudden, for the first time this year, they've actually encouraged us to submit a budget as if we were another town, branch, just like the DPW. Submit a budget that will get included into the township's overall budget for a few bucks to spend on equipment. And that's brand new, but we had to earn that, all right? As opposed to Bob, who has a long-standing 30 years. Lee, you've been doing this? He's been doing it in Woodbridge for 30 years. And we've been doing it for 5 years in West Milford. So there you go. But you got to start somewhere.
But the good news about what he just said was 5 years ago, 6 years ago, he was sitting right here. And it was getting information, learning about JAG that got him the station. Listen, I'll tell you that most television stations, you know where they start in a municipality? In a closet. And I mean that. Literally, they start in a closet somewhere where that they can put a server rack and put the equipment in. That you can get your broadcast server, you can get your bulletin board server, and you have access to it, and that's typically where they start.
And we're still in that closet, but we now have
It's time to come out.
we now have a cabinet in the council chamber where we keep our cameras. So there you go.
So.
But again, you have to start somewhere, and now it's time for the pitch. All right, we couldn't have done this in West Milford without JAG. All right, they helped us with our policies and procedures, which you have to go through. They helped us know how to negotiate a franchise fee. All right, that's what we do. Again, we're not making any money here. We're all volunteers for JAG anyway, and we're here to help you better communicate with your citizens. And in some cases, that's just simply a bulletin board, because you're small and you can't afford all this stuff. In other cases, it's a full-blown station. If you're interested, we show you how to put muscle on those cable operators like Comcast and Altice to get those cable channels, all right? And in most cases, they have to do it, right?
Yes.
So, again, you just have to ask for it, all right? Okay. So
Yes, sir.
where is it? We're here to help.
Yes.
I have a question about just explain what is
Can you just ask?
what is IP video, how that works? You just mentioned a minute before.
Yeah, sure.
Second question is internet. I know you're talking about video. If internet service is a problem in a town or city or municipality, how the public can change it, or how the public can reach some people, how they can improve it?
Yeah, okay. So twofold. So what is IP video? So it's IP obviously stands for, in this sense, Internet Protocol. But what we're doing is taking video sources that are digital, that come out of a cable, typically either HDMI, which you're all familiar with, is more the consumer side, or HDSDI, which is a coaxial type cable with a locking clamp, that come out of a camera, and then they go into a digital source that encodes them into what's known as NDI. NDI is a codec that takes video and actually can take audio as well, and transport it over your typical internet, your local internet system. So what we do is, in our municipality, in our council chambers, we have PTZ cameras, which stands for pan tilt zoom. They're those little robotic cameras that you can control. So we have like 4 of those set up in the council chambers. All those feeds go into those cameras actually are NDI capable right off the bat. So they send the video over Ethernet. They're powered by Ethernet. They get PoE. And then they send the video signal over Ethernet cable as well. They go to a hub. That hub is connected via fiber to our hub. And then that hub comes out of there and goes right into our production switcher. And then we see all 4 cameras, just like that. Audio, so they have a whole audio control system. We take that same thing, duplicate every channel audio into our mixer, and that's gone over what's called Dante. Dante audio is also IP audio. So in their council chambers, they may have 16 microphone channels. We take it all over again over Ethernet cable. One Ethernet cable takes all that, brings it right to us, comes right to our audio mixer that also has the 16 channels, and we can mix it. So what we do for broadcasting doesn't affect what's in the room. So it may sound good for the room, but the one councilman, people may hear him. You can hear me fine in the room, but if I'm not talking in the mic on TV, you're not going to hear me. But I can take that control and I can control it on our end and boost his mic as needed. So that's how that's all handled. Now, when you're talking about internet service for your, so that's a little trickier. So what can you do? Obviously, complaining is your biggest thing. So people need, if people in your community are not happy with internet service or speed or anything, what do? They have the right to complain to the cable company if they have a particular issue. If they're saying almost at 12 o'clock every day our internet service goes out or it slows down dramatically, and these are complaints, so that they should talk with the cable company. If they get no resolution from the cable company, your next step is to the BPU. So that's the Board of Public Utilities. They have an Office of Cable Television. That's what they're there for. They handle complaints like that. Competition is another thing. Is there competition that can come into your community? In some places where there's Comcast and Altice Optimum, Verizon has come in. So now you have 2 different choices for people. There are plenty of communities, and we talked about this. We had a session yesterday where we talked about broadband. There was, we're talking rural areas and places that are, Montgomery County and Sussex County and Hunterdon, Warren, that don't have, competition. They don't even have good internet speed. Sometimes it's just dial-up service from some. So what are their choices? Well, we talked about there are other companies that are willing to come in there. There's federal funding that's coming down the line that's all part of that infrastructure. Thank you. Bill that was just signed, that over $40 billion are coming for broadband, and New Jersey will get a piece of that pie. So there's different things out there that are doing. What I would urge you to do is in about 2 weeks' time, go visit our website, jagonline.org. We will have this session and the other session on broadband available for you to watch, and you can get a lot of information from that, and the experts that kind of talked about that. Also, I don't know if it's mentioned on this flyer, but in May, we will be holding our own conference. We hold our own conference annually. One of the events that will happen, I think it is May 24th, 25th, 26th. It should be May 25th. We are going to hold a trade show. And that is specifically for, if you want to find out how you would start a station up, there'll be manufacturers on hand that show off broadcast servers, bulletin board systems, cameras, production switchers, anything that would have to do with running a television station and operation. So they will be on hand for that. It is going to be fingers crossed, it should be in Edison. We're working on the final deal, but that's the plan. It's a one-day trade show, and the 2 days before that, we're going to make it a hybrid. We're going to hold Zoom conference sessions day before and day after, and they'll talk about everything from station management, production, interviewing skills, broadband. So there'll be the whole series. Yeah, editing. So anything you would want to learn. So that is coming up. Our conference website is called easternvideoexpo.com, but there'll be a link on the JAG website as well for that. Anybody else?
Perfect.
All right.
5 minutes to spare.
Well, thank you all for coming. I hope this was informative. Any questions, feel free to come up and talk to us, and we'll be happy to share our information with you as well. Enjoy.
This is a resource. All right? We're here to help.